We're still looking at the reaction to Labour Party's presidential candidates' press conference held recently. And that conversation is what we're still having in the studio, how the statement he made with regards to the role of the judiciary and all of it. And we still have our guests in the studio with us. Now, you said that before we went to the break, you said, let the judiciary breathe. But frankly speaking, how can they, when we are always seeing their involvement in our electoral process? It has become so concerning. We see a number of litigations after an electoral process, and people are beginning to wonder if they are really, they exercise their franchise and the judiciary is coming, to intervene, so to speak. So how can we allow the judiciary breathe when there is always their interference?
The judiciary doesn't interfere. The electoral process doesn't
still involves them.
It's like let me use the easiest analogy. You know, when you play 90 minutes in football, then you play the extra time, then you go to penalties. Penalties is a game of luck. Some people don't. They feel so. If you say take out penalties, how do you decide the game? That's the closest I'm trying to bring to it now. Now, the judiciary, well, unlike penalties, is not a game of luck. It's a game of law. Now, so you have to now prove your mettle at the court. But if you look at the electoral laws, it makes room for the judiciary as part of.
But Nigerians are not seeing them as being part of the process.
Unfortunately, ignorance is not part of it. It's not an excuse.
In law,
You see this election exposed to a lot of young people. A lot of young people, even older people you have a lot of respect for, empty brains. You know, some people who talk, they just talk. I saw particularly when you stay on social media, sometimes you just wonder that, who gives these people data? You just come and expose your family and yourself on social media. You see ignorance on steroids, running about the place. And I'm wondering, was it not last week somebody tweeted that the president was entertaining the vice chancellor of Germany, where their vice chancellor, I mean, come on. So those kind of persons, you saw the whole argument on the 25%.
Yes.
And Abuja and everything. We came here. We told them, this is the law. When the court affirmed it, they went to sit down. But they went to town with it. And people who can't spell constitution started theorizing, started saying things. And you just wonder, where are these things coming from? Some people don't even know anything. You just had one interview. You just run to town with it. And you come out boldly and say, this is it, this is it. So a lot of people don't know how these things work. They need to go and understand. I understand the majority of those who voted in the last election were first-time voters. There's no problem with that. Fantastic thing. But go and learn about voting. Go and read about the history of Nigeria, how those things have been from the beginning. And then what happens? Because some people didn't even know that the court, like you said, it's a part of the whole game. It's a part of it. You can't wish it away. So that's why you find funny reactions. People, for the first time in my life, I saw people calling out a justice of the Supreme Court that is about to give a verdict. You saw the only there are no female at bar anyway, but
the court,
yes,
the court of appeal, right?
The court of appeal. The court had to say that, you cannot intimidate the court. Anything you like, say. But you saw the billboard. That was a shame. That was not necessary. So you think you can muscle. I saw one where they said, these are their phone numbers, call them, this is the name of their children, these are the names of their children, this. I mean, come on, how low can low get? That's very low. And that should not be condoned. And I think we have to review what happened with this past election, particularly with this group. And try and rein people in. There's freedom of expression, no doubt, but your freedom ends where the next man's freedom starts. You cannot just be blatant with what you do. You can't come out and abuse anybody. You saw the running mate to Obi, you saw what he has been saying, and you just wonder that, okay, so let's assume this man became the vice president of this country. Is this how you just go on air and be talking like the
choice of words, please.
So
Thank you.
I understand.
Right.
No. No. So basically, I think those words are not expected from someone like that. He is supposed to be of noble character, and these are people that people should look up to. But when they now come out and say things that
But one expects that
are not
these people were working with lawyers as well who were pushing these cases before the courts. What do you say to those lawyers who are supposed to know?
You know, I said earlier, when I said earlier that, no, not earlier, we said it before, I think, or in one of our interviews, that we saw where the court berated the lawyers, that you should know this thing. These are simple things. These are common things. You know the law, you should guide. But I will tell you for free, from my practice, there are instances where clients will insist. I have clients who will tell you, I have read the law, this is what we should do, and they want to go. Now, there are lawyers who will tell you that, say, my practice does not align with your position. Some lawyers will withdraw. Some lawyers will feel, it's the law, let's try it. It's not all about money. It's not every time. There are lawyers who will say, if the figures are right, they'll go ahead. Some are motivated by figures, I mean money. Now, but some will just feel, okay, let's go. And I get
conviction.
Yes. Sometimes the matter of conviction, sometimes the matter of trying your luck. But there are issues that are blatant, that you know that this one it can't fly. Now, but if your client says, let's push it, sometimes I've had clients almost accuse me of compromise. When you tell them, this thing won't fly, we can't go like this. In fact, one of my areas of practice is family law. And, you know, you have people fighting on custody, and you tell them, you're a man, you're fighting for the custody of a 1-year-old. You can't get it. You say, no, this, that, let's go up. Well, let's go. By the time you get there, you will see what the court is saying. And then if you don't agree, there's a court of second instance, there's the final position also. So, but most times you find out that it's a client who pushes, will push the lawyer very hard, and they will almost accuse you of compromise.
But in this case, Mr. Oshifora, in this case, this is not a civil matter. You know, you could say it's a civil matter, it's not criminal, you know, but this is a civil matter of, you know, national interests. You know, it has so many vast implications. Do you expect, or do you see a time, or do you even expect, for example, now the NBA to come out to speak on this issue? Because now we are seeing people casting aspersions on the judiciary. You said earlier that people, not even lawyers alone, people depend on the judiciary for their daily bread. And if you now come out to say all these things that you are saying, perhaps maybe members of the legal team, can, rein him in, as in control your comments, because even our own reputation is at stake for the manner you're speaking. And
we're looking at two things now. As for the comments by the presidential, the comments were not supposed to have been uttered in the first place. By casting aspersion on
even
the
some members of the legal team of this, sides, also come out to say almost vocally that the judiciary was wrong, that the judiciary erred.
But we saw, thank goodness the thing was televised. We saw how they said, your lawyer didn't do this, your lawyer didn't do this. That was even where I was coming from, that say, sometimes it's clients that will push you, but in my own practice, if I see that clients want to push me beyond what my head can carry, most times I've actually withdrawn from certain briefs that I can't go ahead with this. Some will say, we want to develop our jurisprudence. Don't use my father's name. You must have read judgments where they will berate a lawyer, they will almost say the lawyer does not have sense for bringing this kind of frivolous, wasting the time of the court and all those things. If I see that, sincerely, yours truly will not join that thing, because the average lawyer knows where the case will land. From your analysis, you know. Now, I don't try my luck, I don't push my luck in such instances. Because I remember saying, I think I was on one of your programs where I said it, a 19-year-old guy, fantastic boy, asked me that, Uncle, I listened to this judgment, that these your lawyers, that why he said something along don't they think that why did they do this kind of thing? I just come on, don't talk about
that.
lawyers like that. When you get there, maybe you are in 100 level, you will see how the thing goes. But you see, some of those things shouldn't have been done in the first place.
Right.
It's not, not because the figures are right, not because of anything, not because you want to develop any jurisprudence, forget it. You just want to try luck, and you know the position. Well, we have precedents. You know how these things work. You saw the judgment where they're saying Atiku versus, somebody was like, Atiku has been in this thing forever. And so we've seen these things, we've seen how it played out. So you cannot now come and say you didn't know. You just want to try your luck on some things. There's no trying of luck. So now the bottom line is, since we have seen how those things have panned out, you have seen your mistakes, you have seen where you erred, you have seen where you were inadequate. Don't blame it on the system. Don't blame it on the courts, the police, or INEC. Go back to the drawing board. Arrange yourself. Put your house together. Then come back if you have the willingness and the resources. If you can't, stop making statements that will incite people, that will burn down the country. Shy away from that. Walk away from statements that will pitch people against themselves. Let's put the interests of this country forward. We have a president legitimately, validly elected by the polls, by the courts. Everything has been pronounced. Then let's see how we could work with him. If you want to be opposition in matters of governance is not fighting. It is bringing meaningful contribution. If you see that they've not done this thing well, come out with your own position. What if we try this way? That's how opposition works. We've seen the British system. We've seen Americans. Opposition is not fighting or castigating people or casting aspersions on people.
All right. We'll have to leave this conversation here. Olutubosun Oshifowora, lawyer and social development advocate. Thank you for your time.
Most grateful. Always a pleasure.
All right.